So again, gotta make this quick, right? So, I just had like some, thing. So you see, wonderful support system. But what I'm saying though is, right. So really quickly off the top of my head, I'm going to explain in less than 10 minutes what I understand about court, right? I'm not talking about court, like relationships of like, man and woman or man and man or anything that's covered in Leviticus chapters 3, verse 16 to 22. I'm talking about court, like legal stuff, like disputes, like arguments, like orders and rulings. So a judge is basically a neutral party. Neutral party, that looks at the plaintiff and the defendant, the person that is saying that this is an issue, the complainer, and then the defendant, which is basically the responder, who is also the alleged wrongdoer. Basically, amongst the two, the judge looks at the situation like, all right, I'm gonna make sense of the situation before these people start fucking each other up, right? The judge looks at the facts. The judge hears each person's, response to the claim, and that's that. In order to, in all of that, that is called a civil action, which is documented by homegirl or homeboy that be like typing stuff up, right? A judge at the end of all of this, makes a decision and be like, all right, cool. In order to resolve this conflict, because essentially the complaint made, the grievances, experience, things like that, it all leads up to what is going to be the conflict resolution. The judge makes an order, and that order, is something that has to be abided by all parties. And then like they have like a final ruling, which is like, all right, cool. After this order, did you all follow what y'all had to do, and whatever's the case, you know what I'm saying, to enact a final determination. Boom, right? That's what I understand so far about the whole process. And then to like start that kind of process, obviously there's fees and stuff that you have to pay, and then not everyone has money. Like me, I'm a broke ass nigga right now, but like court is expensive. Court also involves and entails, a certain language of etiquette, that is unanimous honor. That not honor as in like the judges, like you're honored to have somebody like look into your situation and be like, all right, cool, like I'm gonna help you, so that's why people say, your honor, or else people just cursing people out. But court, like the language and the etiquette, it's like you're at church, or it's like something where like you are granting everyone the utmost respect. In terms of like, let's say something which I guess you could call a savage action, which is, just like speaking colloquially without any kind of like, adherence to like, notations of respect, right? That's that. So to start like a civil action or a motion of actions, that starts with a summons. A summons is basically just like a sheet of paper, which is like, identifying information, contact information, and like any kind of like appointment setting correspondence. So that's like what a summons is. So like what I'm gonna start doing is like to kind of like sideline the gray, murky area of like the county clerk office, any kind of like mix-ups or anything like that. From like verbal communication, and then like any kind of like understandings, especially since they might have like whatever type of like interpretations of what you said versus like what is on paper, after they've dealt with like 3, 4, 5, 20, 40 other people in like a day or 2 weeks or whatever, after like things usually get processed within like 30 days. What I'm going to start doing is in the comment section and the discussion section of like this YouTube channel that I started because I'm locked out of my other accounts, and like this was after my phone was stolen. It's basically like a new development, in light of current complications is I'm just gonna basically outline everything like in the discussions like comment section, where like anyone literally can comment, and also so that it can erase the confusions, because when I filed my complaints with the court, with this King's Civil Court, basically, okay, there's like 4 minutes. Basically, like there were some mix-ups, like when I got back the scans of the paperwork, they thought like this instead of that and that instead of this. So I kind of emailed them, and then I called them, and then I spoke to like one lady, and then I called back, and I spoke to another lady, and then I realized like there are like areas of miscommunication, especially since this lady has like a kind of like dialect or whatever, the second clerk, excuse me. So kind of like adhering to any possible like English is not your first language. You weren't like grown up in like a English saturated environment to understand dialogue fluently. I'm gonna just write everything out because it'll be easier for that person that if English is not their first language, that they could use a product like Google Translate or like Microsoft Bing Translate or something like that in order to comprehend what I'm saying or what I'm communicating at least. Also, I understand that there is the court. There is beginning an action with a summons. There's a beginning an action with a summons and a notice, as well as the fact that like a responder, they don't really need to respond or like say anything, but then there are other areas in which you can go about things, right? So that is what I understand about court. I also understand that court generally, for the sake of time, it's about like 30-minute arguments. So that means that, if I were to fit things into like 15 minutes, like let's say a 15-minute video, that would be the best course of action, so that the person can also respond. And then there's the order, and then there's the rulings. And then what I also understand about court is a sheriff is like the police department for the courts, and they're in charge of like being like as peace officers, really, making sure that like the court order is enforced, as well as that any like statute like guidelines and things like that are abided to, adhered to, and they're like also a point of reference when it comes to like the enforcement of a court order. Also another thing is that like what I read on the paper, which I find kind of misleading, is it says like when commencing a civil action, you can't really sue somebody for just being rude to you, and you can't really sue somebody for being rude to you. And when it comes to like suing, a lot of times it's about like money damages, like what's the cost. But a lot of times, like it's not just money, but it's also time, and then like the repayment of that, and like compensation, reimbursement, things of that nature. What I'm gonna do is kind of like just providing like a suppressed version of like my argument, basically, or my side of the argument, or at least my set of understandings, at least. Providing a suppressed version, which kind of like just focuses on like the pristine facts and like getting to the point and like what I really need and why I'm in court, similar to like identity history summary check, summarizing the whole situation. Going to be a good way to go. And then unsuppress is like everything else that's also happening outside of this like singular timeline involving the other party and things concerning that matter. So it's been like almost 10 minutes, I'm on time, and boom. So this has been a Dude of New York message, and this is about my understandings in court, with court.